And thank you so much for inviting me. I have to start my timer here so I can keep on time. There we go. Hi, and thank you so much for inviting me to your event. It is indeed a celebration of the chapters starting, and I'm sorry I can't be there in person, but I'm very happy to participate via Zoom here or YouTube or however we're connecting. In this interconnected world, it's easier and easier. So the topic I was asked to address is the future of data management in the era of AI. And I'm going to turn the question back on itself just a little bit and say, really, what we're going to talk about today is using AI to augment data management professionals' productivity. That, I think, is the most important thing we can do right at this point. And notice the common element between those two phrases is the term data management, what we are, of course, all here to talk about. So let's focus for just a minute on the word augment. I actually take that term back to my era, which was the 1980s, where I was learning about these things. And I was learning about them from people who had written about them in the 1940s. So, first of all, augment, amplify, elevate, enrich, enhance, fortify, refine. All of these things are generally terms that speak to growth and extensions and being able to do more with the same around here. I think that's really the way to think about it. It's not more with less, but it's more with the same. Our people are all focused on doing well with data management. Now they can do even more. What I promise in general is easier, not easy, right? I think that makes sense. So diving into my own research, if we look about it, it's very complementary with DAMA. DAMA-I serves global data citizens, that's including everybody, providing a community space for knowledge sharing, recognizing professional achievement, and promoting ethical and effective data practices. And this results in better, more responsible data management worldwide. Uh, okay, so my own thinking in the area came as a result of encountering this article in the 1980s, as I said. If you have a copy in the bottom right hand corner that I'm showing of the Atlantic magazine of that era, it's worth quite a few bits of money on the eBays of the world to take a look at it. It's revered in terms of the forward thinking here, and you can see the camera on his head and looking at try to do things. And it really introduced us to terms like hypertext and the ability of to use services around the world all the way around. So if you get bored, I encourage you to look this up. It's available online, of course. As We May Think is the original article by Vannevar Bush, published in the July 1945 issue of Atlantic Monthly. You may think, what on earth could that have to do with what's going on today? Well, as I said, it introduced hypertext, the internet, online encyclopedias, all these kinds of things. His view of technology was a little more limited, though. It was clearly manual driven and had lots of gears and things like that. But it was nevertheless a vision that inspired people in the 60s, 80s, and hopefully on up even into today. So my own research in this area was something called hypermedia for requirements engineering. And that's the idea of trying to learn how as much as we can about the project at the beginning will help the project overall. And those are interesting comments. You'll see they sort of go throughout. In my own dissertation, this illustration was about as good as you could get in those days. It was sort of a scan of a text of a pencil page, drawing around it. We could use graphics crudely on the left there, as you can see, having almost 8 megabytes of RAM available in our computers in the day. Yes, that was so good. What's interesting, though, since then, we've done a lot of testing over the years, and my friend Randy Bean has done quite a lot of this testing. And he's come up with several years worth of data that I just want to run you by and see if you see a pattern in all of these. So he asked the question repeatedly year after year, starting in 2018, are your problems with data primarily technology in nature, or are they primarily people and process in nature. You can see the results in 2018. It was a very nice 80-20 split. However, in 2019, the numbers changed slightly, 2021, 2022, 2023. Do you get the picture here? 2024, 2025, and he was so excited this year. It was the worst year ever for people trying to apply problems incorrectly in the data world. Think about it in your organization for just a minute. 80% of the data challenges are people and process based. And that indicates that even though we've known about this for decades, we haven't changed our approach. And so we still have too many people trying to learn about data on their own instead of as part of a community, understanding there are specific best practices and of course, corresponding worst practices as well. In addition to that, what part of your organization is best set up right now to provide resources to address those challenges? It is your data governance organization, of course. And finally, this really quite logical in terms of looking at this, people represent the greatest impediment to AI success as we're looking forward here. So keep this in mind as you take a venture forth into this wonderful world of AI. What can we do to help the people and the processes in here with AI? And we're just scratching the surface, I believe, on this. But perhaps we'll learn of great developments coming from your own individual chapter, because, of course, that's how DAMA works. We want everybody who's got a great idea to come forward and say, I've got this crazy idea. Could I bounce it off of you local experts? And they say, yes, of course. And sometimes it's a great idea. Sometimes you forget about something. But that's how all this has started. Has been this bottom-up volunteer effort around here. And we count on you all to keep the tradition going. So I'm going to dive in for a minute here on how I use, in particular, AI. It's, I think, quite useful to me. I pay for the professional version of it. That's the $20 a month version that Google charges. Copilot has its own versions, of course, as do many of the other AI providers. This one happens to give me the best responses here. And I'm looking in particular at something called a GEMS, plural, and that is that you can create these persona, or you can create a lot of different things for them, but I used it in this case as a persona of a data governance professional, so that when I ask this gem this question, it will respond with these types of characteristics. And you can see even down to the do not break character at the end of the instructions. It's pretty specific. You can tune these as you like, as you go over and work on them. They become better and more useful to you. I then ask this very gem a 4-word question: why data governance manufacturing? Now, if you had caught on the previous sector, I told the gem that it was to draw upon expertise from a particular sector. So I'm going to talk about manufacturing a little bit today. And so it pulled it in this case, from it, satisfying that need for it, and giving very good information on not merely that, transforming data debt into a high value information asset is the clear driver on this, but there's many, many more aspects. And that was just a 4-word question. Imagine what you could do when you really started saying, for my organization that does these kinds of things. Of course, be careful. Sometimes it's not correct to put your company's information out on the internet, which is precisely what you're doing when you're interacting with Google Gems there. It was very useful, however, in that since I was working in manufacturing, it noticed that, and it suggested that, well, 80-20 is a good rule, and we all agree it's more expensive to fix something after it's in production than before it's in production. It gave me one from the manufacturing community that's a better hook for my communications, because manufacturers understand this intuitively. $1 for a programming aspect will cost $10 to fix if it isn't caught until the warehouse, and it will involve more expensive remediation, and it will cost $100 plus for the business as a whole. Again, the source simple validation rule check, but at the warehouse you're employing your data scientists or your data engineers or your data professionals to fix something that should have been caught at the previous stage. And then, of course, at that point, when it gets into the 100, it's very, very damaging to the organization. So we'll try to avoid those as much as we can. Another piece that I use from Google is Notebook LM. For some reason, they feel they have to have strange characters to introduce Notebook LM. Well, there you go. Strange characters all the way around. I probably fall into that category too, as far as strange characters, in that one afternoon, one of my students took all of the policies at Virginia Commonwealth University, where I'm employed, have been employed for 34 years very happily. They found 162 policies that they were able to implement and load up into something called notebooklm.google.com. And all of these policies became the sources. You can see them down the right-hand side. If you wanted to look at your sources and filter them by certain types, you could tag them and tell them to turn them on and off and do all sorts of things that way. But we're going to address all 152 policies. And at least at this point, the program that they were using at the time was the not professional version. So they were limited to 50 sources. So they cheated and they merged multiple PDF files and got past the source limitation on this. Oh, these students are so clever. But they did read all 162 policies in here. And you can see it gives you a lot of good information in here. And I'm going to do the first one here just to play it for just a quick second. That'll be the audio overview. And the important thing about that is that everybody learns in different fashions, different types of ways. Some people learn by reading, some people learn by listening, some people learn by doing. No one type is incorrect, but this does offer an additional challenge, an additional communication medium for us as data managers to communicate with executives and our general population. To look at these. So I'll show you this audio in just a second. But if I were to click video, it would give me a video, a little explainer video. You've probably seen them on YouTube already. A mind map if I'm in the investigatory portions of my work as a data manager. I can click on reports and ask for specific things. If I want to train others, I can create a whole series of flashcards and quizzes that will do things, some terrific infographic work. Not all of the spelling is correct. So again, be aware of these things. It will produce a PowerPoint slide deck and then starting to do data tables as well here. Wow, what an enormous number of things that are done. Well, if you again, have permission. Let's be careful and say we do need to do this within whatever the policy and privacy guidelines of the organization for which we are working. But nevertheless, it does give us a tremendous amount of capability. And even if you're not allowed to use it at work, you can be certain that some people in your organization are going home and doing it anyway, or using it on their device right by the side of their desk. I'm going to play you now just a minute or 30 seconds of the audio discovery of this. Again, just think about how you would like to learn about information. It's got a very dense document, or I can put it on a little 20-minute video that starts like this.
All right, let's be real for a sec.
Okay.
Nobody, and I mean nobody,
Mhm.
actually looks forward to spending their precious weekend
Right.
buried in a stack of university policies,
Nice.
like trying to find like a really exciting, you know,
Yeah.
thriller novel in the library rule book section,
That's
right?
that.
Who does that?
Nobody.
But that's why we're here.
That's right.
We're your trusty guides for this stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to take you on a deep dive into these VCU policies.
I'm sure most of you don't want to learn much about VCU, but if you do, it only requires that I share this notebook with you, which is as easy as sharing anything in Google is. So I hope this has been kind of exciting for you because our roles in these areas are going to continue to evolve on this. Your idea that you're going to be working in just one part of the AI lifecycle is the wrong perspective. It's going to be a continuous involvement. You're going to lead the ETL and cleansing process because it's your metadata and you know what you're going to do to acquire and prepare for data. You're going to partner with the AI engineers to help them identify good and not good approaches to feature engineering in that context. Let them do the model training for the most part, but we're going to I mean, the monitoring of the data quality in production. And that's an important piece because it means you can stop things up if things don't go your way, giving you the best component of this because, of course, we know that everything we do is limited in one fashion or another by this following equation. Bad data plus anything awesome will always yield to bad results. Garbage in, garbage out. And I've believed in that so strongly that I have put it on my automobile as a license plate. Garbage in, garbage out. I hope I haven't cut you off any, as driving around town tends to do. I was corrected, interestingly, in the Midwest, and they said, oh, garbage in is such a negative connotation. So let's make it goodness in and goodness out. Great, no problem. I'm real happy to get positive message out there. And when you look at what's actually going on in this, the ways in which we articulate are going to become more and more and more important. For example, if I ask the AI to make me a little infographic that I could leave around at a conference or a meeting or such, I might say, well, what goes on with the garbage in, by the way, entirely generated by AI. There's limitations in large amounts of poor quality DATs that lead to confidently wrong models, right? Again, the ethical giant, again, the data is not going to understand, and the algorithms are not going to amplify. Again, amplify, maybe it's an interesting new word to think about in there. Again, these things aren't perfect, but gosh, can they be inspirational? Operational risk, again, perfectly plain model may not show the same results over time. And there are some organizations that monitor thousands of AI models in production that are going on. Of course, everything is the garbage in, but process through data governance, data discipline, et cetera, we will now start to get better results that come out there. And, yeah. Again, new mandate around all of these is going to be focused on data governance for AI, looking at a virtuous cycle of better governance, giving better data, better models, better outcomes, and more investment. Everybody gets better in. And again, kind of redefining our roles as we go through this. There will be more interesting things to work on. Let's take a look again a little further at what these types of tools can do. Now, this going back to the notebook LM, I asked it if it would give me a PowerPoint in Indonesian, and it gave me this. I'm told it doesn't say anything bad. In fact, I translated it myself, and it seemed benign enough, but at the same time accurate to the point where it would do things that were extremely useful. I'm now going to take a very big, courageous step here for me. I don't know how to speak your language, of course, like most Americans, and I'm going to spend just a minute doing a little bit because I asked it to create a movie for you about one of these. So let's try a little bit of it.
Kalau kita lihat di dunia korporat sekarang ini, rasanya semua orang lagi ngomongin satu hal yang sama, kecerdasan buatan, atau AI. Dari ruang rapat eksekutif sampai jadi berita utama di mana-mana, pesannya jelas banget, AI adalah masa depan. Tapi, tahu?
I'm told that that is harmless, and I did that by transferring it back into another AI and asking it to translate it and reading the transcript of it. And it seemed to be good. So going forward, it's going to be important to use tools that we currently have that'll be able to focus on back office workflows. And that's the best place to start because those are the most regularizable of the things that are under your control. And grab that sort of as a focus. And for AI to work, it's also got to need data that's fit for purpose. Well, that has been your focus for decades, working on fit for purpose, supporting the infrastructure that'll enhance existing performance in there as well. Things that we can do that will make things better, not just for other other AI workers, but other knowledge workers, other data workers, all around the organization. And if there's any group that can design systems that are designed to be explainable, it is this group. And I encourage you to continue to use your best efforts to come up with things that will be helpful to society in that sense, because it has to focus on just a small number of existing things to get better. This is to avoid the 95% burnout rate that perhaps you've heard about. It needs to complement your existing architectures. It can't be a brand new thing to do. And finally, build on your ability to create and communicate with common vocabularies on all of these things. So this sort of leads us to gen philosophy, I guess, that we look at. The tool should be functioning as an extension, just the same as these glasses work better for me when I'm close up to see things. Right? They're an extension of our individual abilities. Your work should proceed as normal at first, but as you see these things happen, observe what are the opportunities you have to make things better, not just for you, but for everybody that uses your data, everybody that encounters the information that comes in and works on these things. And finally, an observation that coordination among all of us results in generally further more rapid progress. And so even if you can't do a DAMA chapter, be part of this new chapter here, you can still form a data group within your organization and do something akin to this where everybody just comes with these problems I'll just leave you one more piece of advice on this also, which is that the idea here of plan, do, check, act, which is that how I see most everything going well today. So your job won't be taken by AI, I believe. I believe that what will happen is that your job will be taken by somebody who knows how to use AI better than you, and that's something that you can control. Informatica also has a nice piece on this, which is that they said last year the tagline was "Everybody's ready for AI except your data." And that may be true. But with that, I will conclude my remarks. And thank you again for inviting me. I, again, do so wish that I was able to be there in person and hope I'll be able to visit at some point in the future. But thank you again for putting together all of this hard work that you've done and wonderful time to celebrate. So with that, I will say goodbye.